Colin is a bad motherfucker. Cadillac dipping, pimping, plenty women lean sipping, smoking, heavy on the marijuana token, posted, pushing the hard line out in Oakland. City of dope, the boy is dope, that's why the whole city know him. Oh, he just took a little break. Thought he changed his ways, but he played you, Jake. Pride of Oakland usually calm and collected, but that ain't the motherfucker to be no punk when disrespected. This is the life we live in, and it been since the beginning. And you know we stuck in that soil loyal, and we don't do revisions, and we don't get passes for pussyfooting. Don't be who you isn't.
Welcome back to our humble San Diego podcast. We are your hosts for the evening, Ryan Jiminez.
What's up?
James Warney.
Hey, what's up?
And of course, I, the Swan. This is Drop the Mic, and here is episode 282, Town Business, where we will be breaking down 2018's Bay Area classic BLINDSPOTTING. But first, let's warm up with some of our usual intro segments, shall we?
Let's do it.
And now for a special news report, brought to you by Drop the Mic.
Okay, James, what do you have for us on the pop culture news front this week?
So some pretty interesting news regarding the Flash movie. It looks like Ezra Miller actually did some reshoots during his legal battles he's been having with the last couple of incidents, basically. So in between all of those, Warner Brothers actually had him come back and do reshoots for the movie, which I thought is kind of surprising for him to actually agree to that. Along with that, I guess Warner Brothers Discovery is also considering, from what I've been reading and all the outlets have been putting out, they're considering three options for the Flash movie. The first one of the three is Ezra gives an interview explaining their erratic behavior and does limited press. So he won't really be involved too much in the press and for the movie, but he'll have some type of interview explaining why he's been acting the way he is, and that he's explaining that he's getting some type of help. The second option is Miller plays no part in the film promotion, and his role gets recast. Ultimately, if there is a second film, he will get recast. And then the third option is the film gets completely scrapped and shelved, just like Batgirl.
So with the one there you said where he would be replaced, do they mean that he would still be in the film and they would just pretend that he's not in the film, or they would digitally replace him with somebody else?
I'm assuming that they might do some type of reshoot for the end of the film, maybe some type of explanation as to why he's a different person now. Because I know that this movie has a lot to do with him traveling back in time and altering timelines and stuff like that. So that could give them an explanation or basically a way out to recast him. I'm not sure. I think that would cost way too much money to basically film everything twice that he's done with another person, because he is actually, from what I've heard, he's playing two different versions of himself in this movie. So, and he's in like 98% of the film. So you'd basically be reshooting every scene that he's in.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
If that were the case.
That it would just be impossible for them to reshoot it and recast, because he's literally in every single scene, because he's playing multiple people. Yeah.
And I know I talked about a little bit that how they canceled the Batgirl film, and then along with that they did a reshoot with Ben Affleck, I think 2 weeks ago, for Aquaman 2, and that role was supposed to be for Keaton as well in the new Aquaman movie, but I'm hearing a lot of rumors saying that I forget the guy's name, David Laszloff, I think that's his name, who's for Discovery, who's taking over HBO Max or Warner Brothers. He wasn't very happy with the direction that the past leaders were taking the DCEU, and that they were heavily putting a lot of stuff basically on Keaton's role, and he was kind of going to be a integral part in the rest of the franchises going on. And I don't think, or what they're saying is that he didn't like that, and that's why they're pushing Affleck into a lot of things again. And I don't know if that's going to work out well, because I know he had stated that he's really like done playing Batman, but then he goes and does the reshoots for Aquaman, which is kind of funny. But yeah, I don't know where that's going to lead. DC is kind of everywhere right now. I think they're just trying to fix a lot of crap that's going wrong with their franchises.
Yeah, I had read that they wanted Keaton to be like a Nick Fury type in what his role is in the Avengers, kind of go across the multiverse and different movies and have him kind of be the center of it. But it's crazy that he thought that the DC cinematic universe was kind of going to shit, and then they bring back Ben Affleck, which doesn't make any sense, like you said.
Yeah, exactly. And also, I don't know where they're going from this, but it looks like they're like I said, they're giving Ezra an option to try to fix what he's done, or the kind of mend the fences that he's torn down. But hopefully they can get that fixed and figure it out. So on some other news, Batman 2 has still not been greenlit for Warner Brothers. I know that we talked about it recently for the Batman, but ever since Warner Brothers is now Warner Brothers Discovery, there has been no talks actually for a Batman 2, no green light or anything like that. I think they're still heavily in the writing phase for 2. I think that's the case, but nothing's been 100% greenlit for that.
Which is crazy, because that's like the last 10 years they've done, other than the Man of Steel, that's like and Joker, that's like their bread and butter, right?
Right, yeah. And I think the thing is, Laszlo is trying to figure out what is what's going to bring them the most money in terms of films for the DC universe. I know he specifically said Batman, Wonder Woman, and Superman are the key figures that they want to focus around. And in regards to Superman, I know they had actually reached out to Henry Cavill to try to get him to agree to some kind of new deal, but I think he actually kind of is falling back on his urge to play Superman again. From what people are saying, it looks like he may be losing interest in that now because of everything that's been going on and how they just have been, from past news and stuff, like how they were talking about replacing him and all these types of things. So I don't know where they're going with that, but yeah, kind of sucks to see that he doesn't want to be, if the rumors are true, that he doesn't want to be Superman anymore.
Yeah, that's crazy. I'd read something that, like a rumor that Marvel had reached out to him to do something. So
I think that's why Warner Brothers is now trying to pursue him again, to try to get him back. But I mean, he's a great actor. I think he's awesome in The Witcher and everything else that he's done. It'd be a shame to lose him as well. And then on to some Disney Plus news. It looks like they're going to be having a price increase here in the near future. I think that's going to be starting in December. And they're going to have a new feature, a lower tier version where you'll pay for, if you want to pay less, you'll get ads in your streaming for Disney Plus. Yeah, so I think they're going the Hulu route with, if you want to do like the premium version, you don't have any ads. And then, if you don't want to spend so much on their service, you'll have ads.
That's crazy. I was reading too that, did that come out with like all that shareholder news?
Yeah. I think within the last couple of days. So I know the shareholder news, they had their meeting on like Thursday or Friday last week.
And from what I read, like they had like a really good year. So
Yeah, they did.
this news, and then the news like with Disneyland and them not knowing what to do with like the annual passes and Magic Keys is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
With all the money they've made.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't. I mean, people are still going to obviously get Disney Plus and things like that because there's now. I kind of feel like if you don't have Disney Plus and you're like a Marvel fan, you're kind of out of the loop if you're not watching those shows because they are kind of like the in betweens of all the movies, like the big features that are coming out in theaters. But yeah, I don't know what they're doing with that, so that kind of sucks. And let's see here. My last bit of news. So John Wick, the director, confirms that the director for John Wick actually confirmed that they are kind of creating their own cinematic universe, and their intentions are to continue the franchise for years to come. That was kind of vague in whether Keanu Reeves would come back to do, to play little parts or cameos, whatever. But I know are they still planning on doing that, the Continental West? If that's still a thing that's happening?
I haven't heard any news about it being shelves or canceled or anything. I'm pretty sure.
So yeah, so I think their intentions are to kind of branch out further. I know, like you said, where they're doing that Continental series, and I think a few other spin-offs as well. They weren't really particular on what we would see from that, but I think it's cool to see that universe expand. I think most IP now is kind of they're turning those into like huge universes and things where you don't have to focus so much on the main character, and it's just all these side characters and side quests and things like that. So pretty awesome just to see that universe grow.
Also, something I read for John Wick recently is that the 4th installment is going to be the longest length of any of the films so far.
Give me 5
nice.
hours of fucking Keanu Reeves.
Right. Yeah, I'm not complaining at all. So, yeah, I love it. Yeah, I need more. Doesn't matter. I could be 5 hours. I don't care. No, sorry, this is my last bit of news. It looks like that HBO Max is still currently moving forward with a Green Lantern series. So I'm looking forward to that as well. It would be a heavy effects driven show. So, of course, with all the cosmic and space stuff that they have to deal with. But yeah, that's it for my news.
How awesome would that be if they got Ryan Reynolds to come back and from another fucking
that would be
universe.
Insane just to have him come back for like a cameo.
That's funny. I was just going to ask you guys what were your thoughts on that movie?
Shit.
It's like a really weird rom-com.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I only saw it the one time.
I think you know what I saw it one time in the theaters. I bought the Blu-ray and never even opened it.
Still wrapped in the plastic.
Did you buy it because you're a completist?
Yes.
Type deal? Okay.
So yeah, I can't. I remember little specific parts of it, but that's about it. I couldn't tell you what happened specifically in the movie. I'd have to rewatch it, which I don't think I ever will. But somebody else got news?
Yeah, you took most of mine, so I got a couple.
Yeah, that's what I do, man. That's what I do.
Just adding on to all that DC news, apparently they went back and shot a new post-credit scene for Black Adam. So with all this stuff, they're doing the reshoots. They're doing the new Ben Affleck reshoots, and now this. It really does seem like they're trying to change things up and go a different way. So we'll see how it turns out.
I heard a lot of speculation or rumor for that, saying that they might have gotten Henry Cavill to come back and do that. But then again, who knows with the stuff that I heard that he's kind of not interested in anymore. I read somewhere that they said they're trying to tie the Black Adam film more into the DCEU to make it more connected with that.
That would be awesome if he shows up. I'd like to see. I loved Shazam, That's another thing that DC did well. So
Yeah.
I'd like to see them kind of cross paths. But what else do I got? So Prey, which premiered last weekend on Hulu, is now their biggest streaming premiere of all time, which is insane.
Stealing my shit.
It deserves it.
I have still yet to see it.
Oh my god,
Yeah,
you're gonna
I
be
know.
blown away.
That's what I've heard,
awesome.
and I've tried to stay away from all the trailers except for that first one. And
Yeah.
nothing has really been spoiled for me. I think I muted a whole bunch of words on Twitter. But yeah, I'm still looking forward to it. I've heard good things, but that's awesome that it did so well.
I got a couple for you guys. Let's see here. So recently on the Boo Crew podcast, horror producer Roy Lee spilled the beans about the future of the Friday the 13th franchise, basically stating that something is in the works and we might get an official update somewhere towards the end of this year. It's been a whopping 13 years, pun intended, since the release of the remake, and since the property has been at the center of a rights battle.
So is he saying that it's been settled?
In so many words that, like, we don't know any details, obviously, but that something's coming down the pipe pretty soon.
Awesome.
You said Friday the 13th, right?
Yes, as in Jason Voorhees.
Yeah. I did enjoy the remake, and I know some people hated it, but I think you're kind of in the same thing, that it's all right. It's not a bad remake.
No, it's good.
Yeah, it's good.
It was clever what they did, and I liked how they grounded his character as opposed to having him be some like weird supernatural zombie type thing that he
Yeah.
ended up being through the franchise. Yeah, I thought the remake was, if you can handle like a studio polished horror film, it's fine, it's good. But yeah, I wonder if it's gonna be there was the basketball player that was attached to it. The Space Jam dude. LeBron James. He has a studio, and he was trying to buy the rights because he loves Friday the 13th, I guess. So
it's smart.
He was attached to it, so I wonder if they pulled that off or not.
That's crazy. Do you think they're gonna go the route of Halloween? Kind of go back to
Like just like go like retcon everything.
reset? Yeah.
I think that would be probably the smart thing to do, you know. I think the same producer, Roy Lee, on the Boo Crew podcast recently announced 3 new upcoming films for the Strangers franchise.
Ooh. 3 new films?
I don't know if I agree that they're announcing like so many at the same time.
When did that first one come out?
06 maybe?
So almost 20 years. They're like, fuck it, we're gonna just announce 3 more.
Like a new trilogy. But there wasn't a trilogy to begin with. There's only Pray at Night and then the OG.
Yeah.
But Pray at
Wait,
Night is pretty good.
how would they even? Yeah, Pray at Night is awesome. I love doing that episode, but just the way it ends, I don't know how they would continue that.
Well, I guess if you think about the story, they've obviously done this to tons of people, so they could just pick random families or strangers that they did get away with it, you know, like going back, shuffling through different timelines. So maybe.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
You know,
So it could be like in between films, or
Yeah.
in between the first and the second one.
before they get to where the family from Pray at Night. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Okay, makes sense.
I'm not even sure that's what they're gonna do. That's just a guess.
That's the logical way, but who knows if they would just.
They could hit reset and reboot and do the first one
Yeah.
over again. Who knows? Do you guys like The Strangers?
Yeah.
For the most part.
Like
I do. Yeah, I do.
Out of the 3 films that I just announced, one of which director Rennie Harlin is set to direct. Harlan has done a ton of notable projects through the years, including Die Hard 2, Deep Blue Sea, The Long Kiss Goodnight, Cliffhanger, and Nightmare 4.
What?
Wow. Okay.
What a resume.
Cliffhanger, man.
That's Stallone, right?
Yeah.
Yellow Jackets Season 2. Anybody watch that yet?
I have not. I'm sorry. I apologize.
No, not yet. I heard it's really good, though.
It is. It's on Showtime. You guys, you two and everybody out there listening to this, watch Yellow Jackets if you haven't Season 1 right now. Pause this and go watch it. So Season 2 showrunners recently announced that they are looking to return to television by the first quarter of 2023, as production is slated to start at the end of August, or this month. This will be worth the wait, I'm sure. Check out the first season on Showtime now, as I just said. Very good show. Basically about a group of a young female soccer team or football team. They in high school in the 90s. They end up they're on their way to like a championship game, and their plane crashes down into like the wilderness somewhere, and they're forced to live like fend for themselves pretty much for, I think, maybe a year or so, a long fucking time to survive without any resources or anything. But then, so the show flip-flops back from when they're young in the 90s and this, you know, what they did to survive versus the survivors and in contemporary now, and with, you know, the women and their, you know, now they have kids and all these different problems. So it's like juggling two different storylines at the same time. Great riveting stuff. Check it out.
And now it's time for the weekly recommendations.
And we'll cycle back to James. What do you got for us?
So I have Prey, which I just watched maybe a couple of days ago. Yeah, definitely an amazing movie. I'm super pumped. Hopefully that we're able to do an episode on that in the future. And then my other one is a recommendation that you had, Wes, The Bear, Hulu original. It's an amazing show. I think I'm four episodes in. So it's great. I hate that the episodes aren't as long as I want them to be. So I'm, going through it pretty quick. But yeah, I love the show.
Thank you for paying attention to me.
Yeah. And then I have one more. It is on Netflix, The Sandman. I am not familiar with the comic book. I know I believe it's Neil Gaiman. But I know who the character is, but I'm not familiar with what he does and the comic books and stuff like that. But yeah, it's pretty insane. Very cool. I kind of would say if you like Preacher, it's kind of in that realm, but much darker. And more serious. It's not as much. There's actually there's not really any comedy in it, but somewhat like Preacher, if that makes sense.
Brian, are you a fan of Sandman?
I am. I just haven't checked it out yet, but yeah, fucking that book rocks. So, and it hasn't. I think they greenlit it already for a second season, right?
I didn't know.
If they did, I didn't know that. So that even makes me more excited to watch this, because I hate, I think we talked about it before, when we find out that a show is no longer being continued. So if they get a second season, I'm super stoked for that.
It's on Netflix?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a Netflix original.
They either greenlit it, or I think I saw a tweet saying that Neil's already talking about what they want to do for the second season. So, oh yeah, gotta check that out. Cool.
Yeah, all the cast and everything is amazing. They're almost like pulled. At least the Sandman, looks like he's pulled straight from the pages of the comic book. So definitely check it out. I know some people were kind of upset in terms of like race swapping and gender swapping some characters when they announced the cast for this. But I'm not familiar with the comic book, so it has I have no issues with that. But anyways, yeah, I think it's amazing, and definitely check it out if you're a fan.
Yeah, Ryan, get on it and watch Paper Girls already.
I'm so behind on everything, it's not even funny. Yeah, so I got a couple things to rec. First off, BLINDSPOTTING the show.
My man.
So if you haven't seen the movie, go and watch the movie, come back, listen to us, and then go watch the show. Yeah, it's great. It's on Stars. The whole cast is great. They both have Diggs and Casal both have a huge presence in it, in the writing and everything. And I think they even directed a couple of episodes. So go and check that out. And then a rec that Wes did last week, You Cannot Kill David Arquette. I watched that, and yeah, it's fucking awesome. You get a huge understanding on where he is in his life and how things are going for him and how things were going at the time. And you kind of like fall in love with him even more with all the everything he's been through. And if you love wrestling, it's fucking awesome. So yeah, check You Cannot Kill David Arquette on Hulu. And that's all I got.
Yes. All right, so I wanted to give, obviously, a shout-out to the BLINDSPOTTING TV show because it's very good, and I feel like a lot of people are unaware of it because it's on Stars. So please get the Stars app or get somebody with a password. I don't think it's very expensive. And check it out. There's a lot of stuff. Stars is an underrated app. A lot of good stuff on there. They got the new Spider-Man on there if that antagonizes anyone. But yeah, check out BLINDSPOTTING. Great companion piece to the movie that we're going to be talking about tonight. Moving on, I went to see last night the premiere, Thursday night, the premiere, A24's Bodies with my man Pete Davidson.
Yeah.
Skirt. And it is a fucking wild ride, man. Unlike anything you've ever seen, it's not gonna play out how you think it is. Very, very fun, meta, weird, contemporary slasher. Very much made for the Gen Z, or making fun of them, or I don't know, even understand what the message is, the takeaway from it yet, because I've only watched it once, but I really I enjoyed it, and I feel like it was a fresh spin on that genre, the subgenre. Go watch it. I've seen a lot of people talking shit, but it has a 94 on Rotten.
Oh shit!
So obviously somebody loves it. Multiple people love it.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And now for the movie focus of the week.
It's about to get real, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh yeah.
Yes, it is.
Ryan's gonna lose his shit.
I'm about to. I'm about to start bumping E40 and fucking Too Short right now.
All right. If it's okay with you, I got a little write-up here to get us started.
Yeah.
Okay, so this week, my man Ryan wanted to talk about BLINDSPOTTING. It's rated R. It's from 2018. It's a dramedy. It runs at 1 hour and 35 minutes, which is a very smooth runtime for the amount of stuff that is covered in this movie. And it's got a well-deserved 94 on Rotten. Written by David Diggs and Rafael Casal, directed by Carlos Lopez Estrada, starring David Diggs, Rafael Casal, Jasmine Jones, Janina Gavankar, Justin Carey, Margot Hall, Ziggy Baitinger, and of course Ethan Embry. The film aims to display life in contemporary Oakland, with the story starting with one of our main characters, Colin, who is just 3 days shy of being released from his parole constraints. But danger nears closer when Colin witnesses an unlawful murder at the hands of the police, while also juggling his best friend Miles, a live-wire personality which continues to unknowingly threaten Colin's freedom. BLINDSPOTTING's two leads, David Diggs and Rafael Casal, are also the masterminds behind the film's script, with the two having grown up together and coming up with the concept for the film in the mid-2000s and working on the story for nearly 9 years. Finally being greenlit in 2017, the core idea behind this movie being set in Oakland was the idea that the Bay Area had consistently been misinterpreted within the film world, at least in their opinion. The film dropped in the U.S. in July of 2018 and was warmly embraced by critics with endless glowing reviews. However, due to the film's indie budget, it underperformed at the box office, only bringing in an estimated $5 million. This is a real shame in that this film is one of the best of its year, having been one of 3 films to be grounded somewhat in Oakland, California in 2018. For those interested, the other 2 flicks are Sorry to Bother You and, of course, Black Panther. BLINDSPOTTING takes a more realistic approach, tackling a handful of touchy subjects such as gentrification, police brutality, racism, and toxic masculinity. And it does so without being overly depressing, instead injecting highly infectious humor and lighthearted tones throughout. With beautiful performances, cinematography, and an authentic score and music choices, the film easily sits atop the most creative and original concepts within the last decade. Although the film presents multiple dimensions to its problems, there are no clear resolutions, and that fact in itself makes the film's overall message universal in nature. Recently, Stars greenlit Season 2 of BLINDSPOTTING, the TV show, which further expands on its established characters, this time focusing on the women in the character of Miles's life after he's sent to prison for a 5-year stint, leaving the mother of his child, Ashley, to raise their son with his family in West Oakland. It is very clear that the heightened reality of the Bay Area has plenty more of intriguing and beautiful storytelling for us to absorb. You can watch the feature film and Season 1 of the show now on the Stars app. 5 out of 5 Grails. Thank you.
Bravo,
Nice.
bravo.
So we're going to open the floor to you, Ryan. This is your idea to talk about this film. It's quite obvious why you picked it, but what were your first impressions of the film upon your first watch?
Yeah, so I went opening day, like a 2:00 showing at the Grand Lake Theater in Oakland.
Okay.
It's over 100 years old. It's probably the only like real theater in Oakland.
Mm-hmm.
There's not really like a big chain. There's like Centuries and AMC's like in the cities around it, which aren't far. I went, grabbed a big thing of popcorn, soda, and sat my ass in that chair and kind of just sat there blown away. Like you said, I don't think the Bay Area had ever been shown like that on the big screen. It oozes Bay Area. If you're listening to this and you're from the Bay Area, you know exactly what I'm talking about from that opening scene when they're sitting outside that burger joint, and that guy and their friend's car. Even from when they're like walking the street, you hear the BART station. You hear the sound of BART like railing past them. It's pretty insane that even now, years later, I can watch it, I can put it on, and it's like I'm back home in the Bay Area. But yeah, I watched it. I saw it that one afternoon, and then I went back and watched. Went when it was released the next week, because that was like it was released in Oakland, LA, and New York. And the next week I went and I watched it again in a bigger chain. But yeah, dude, this was by far my favorite movie of 2018. I think that it got snubbed terribly by every single awards show given out that year. The Golden Globes, the Emmys, the Oscars, they didn't get nominated at all, which is it's fucking terrible. But yeah, I'm just as speechless now as I was talking about it now as I was seeing it then. But you can really tell that David and Raphael, they like put their heart and soul into writing that movie and making sure Oakland and the Bay Area was shown the right way.
Absolutely. What about you, James? I know you're a big fan of this film. What does it mean to you?
I had never got a chance to see it in theaters. It always interested me, though. I remember seeing the trailer and being like, "Oh man, this was a good movie." And I think it touched on a lot of subjects that I don't think a lot of, like you said in the intro, it's kind of a lot of kind of touchy subjects and things of that nature. but they went, full force into them, and they go over that in a great way that that it kind of eases you into it, along with like you said, the comedy kind of breaks down that tension and things that might feel a little hard to talk about. But I remember as soon as this came out on Blu-ray, I think I remember buying it, not just seeing the trailer, and then super excited to watch it. I remember putting it in and watching it, and me and Alyssa watched it together, and we were like blown away. I was like, wow, this movie is great. It's a very emotional movie. I mean, if you're used to seeing that kind of stuff, like, it's a great movie. I don't know what else to say about it, but I actually have a question for you, Ryan. Are you familiar with David Diggs and what's his name? Raphael? Are they did they grow up together, or did they like know each other like in the industry?
Yeah, no, they grew up. I think David is from Oakland, and Raphael is from like the outskirts of Oakland and Berkeley. And yeah, they grew up together, went to high school together and everything. And then
yeah, because you can definitely tell the chemistry between them. I mean, it's like if you were to get two best friends and have them make a movie together, and then have them play the two leads in the movie, which is what they did essentially. And you can feel that chemistry between them, the relationship. But what about you, Wes?
This is one I don't think it was. At least I don't think it opened up down here.
No.
For us to actually see it on the big screen, which is super unfortunate. But as soon as it was available to be rented or bought, I saw it almost immediately when it dropped, and I was like you said, James and Ryan, I was blown away. It's incredibly emotional. It touches on all these different things, and it's sad that all of them, even going back to, this was released in 2018, all of the social problems that they are talking about are still very much a problem right now. It's very,
Definitely.
very, very relevant, which is a sad thing, and especially watching an interview with Cassell, he specifically said, we wanted to make this movie a period piece where once people saw it, and the issues that we tackle in it, that it would have already been, the problems would be solved by now. And they're not. Not. At all. If anything, we're backtracking.
Yeah.
In progress now. But yeah, this movie, it changed the way I see filmmaking in a lot of ways, because because I think David for sure comes from a Broadway background, and so a lot of the way that they use hip hop and then the kind of choreography and stuff throughout this, making Oakland this kind of heightened reality. They do it in a very special way, which kind of blends where it seems like you're watching a play, but then it's theatrical the same way, like it's blending all these different mediums together seamlessly, and it's just so masterfully done that it's, I never get tired of watching it. I could watch this from any point, any scene, and enjoy it the same, and of course this movie, let's talk about the characters a little bit. Obviously we have basically two main characters, which is Miles and Colin, correct?
Yeah.
Colin is trying to stay out of trouble. I think the movie starts where he has 3 days left.
Yeah, 3 days
on his parole. And his best friend Miles, this kind of wild card dude. I feel like most of us probably will love his character. he is very much a hothead, I think, as James was about to say.
Yeah, he has a knack. He has a knack for getting in trouble, I feel, or escalating the situation,
or not getting in trouble, and that's
right. Yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing too. He doesn't I mean, you learn that in the movie earlier in the movie that he doesn't understand that because he's white, he doesn't face the same repercussions as someone of a different ethnicity, whether they're black or just like Colin. He's his best friend. He's black, and he doesn't understand that he can get away with way more things than Colin would if the roles were reversed.
Just like that opening scene when they're about to drop him off. He's about to drop him off, and he's not understanding his privilege when he's telling him, "Hey, like, don't bring that. I don't know you have that gun on you." And he's kind of like waving it around and kind of acting fucking dumb about it.
He's like, "Oh, you mean this guy?"
Yeah. I love the scene where they meet up with their homie, and it's this I don't even know what kind of car it is, but it's lifted with a huge ass like rims, and he's like, "Yo," he's like, "You got a gun?" He's like, "Oh yeah." He's like, "Oh, I've been wanting to get one." And then he's like, "Oh my God, Colin's like, I need to get out of here. There's no doors in the back. Please, someone just let me out. I can't be around this." And he's like, "Oh," and the homie in the front, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I got two more back there." And Colin pulls them out. He's like, "Of course you have two more guns back here." And then he's like, "I got one in the, on the, what's it called? The fucking little shade thing in the driver's seat." And then he gets a call to pick up somebody, and he's like, "Motherfucker, is this an Uber?"
And that's like the first thing where they're kind of showing you how the people are trying to adapt to the gentrification that's happening in the area. We're just trying, doing whatever hustle you can. Where he's like, making money wherever I can. But yes, that's when you kind of see your first kind of interaction with Miles and Colin in the car, where Miles just doesn't get it, where he just seems kind of clueless, at least at that point, where Colin, the overarching, for me, the meaning of this movie is like how it is incredibly terrifying to be not only a black man in Oakland, but a black man in America, just walking down the street doing normal shit is it's like a horror film, essentially, and
right.
And I feel like that's what this movie is touching on, because if you think about, the movie is very much from the perspective of Colin, right? But then as you meet Miles and you understand that he's in an interracial relationship with Ashley, his girlfriend, and they have a son who's also biracial, Sean, and and you can see, and it's more conveyed, but Ashley worries about Sean having to endure the same thing that Colin is going through as a man, where her son is obviously going to get a certain age, and you have all these, cops and people gunning down kids for just having their hoods up, and it's just, it's touching on a lot of things, even without really saying or pressing the issue. There's a lot of layers going on here. So
yeah, even to the fact where I think it's Colin's mom, right, who gives him the papers to give to Miles and his wife, and it's basically to teach young kids how to interact with police when they're approached. And then you see later on where Sean says he's kind of arguing or messing around with Colin and tells him to leave him alone, and Sean goes, don't shoot," and he throws his hands up in the air so so his hands are visible, they're not in his pockets or anything like that. And you can see the look on Colin's face where he's like, "What the fuck?" Like, he's a little kid. He shouldn't. that's something that he shouldn't have to worry about, but it's become a regular occurrence, and when it shouldn't be.
In elementary school and middle school, I had a friend who was he was black. He was being raised by his single parent, his mom, and she would, she wouldn't let him do certain things that I could do, or like the other kids would do. Mm-hmm. And I never got it, and then growing up, realizing the reason why she held him back from doing things is because of that very reason. She didn't want him to get in trouble for something that we were all doing. And obviously it would have been different with him, but it's a wild concept to grasp. And
because if you guys were getting in trouble or doing something you shouldn't have, you would assume that, or she would assume that he would be the one who would be singled out first, regardless of if he was just a bystander doing nothing, just hanging out.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I think that's what Ashley says. I think it's either Ashley or Val, but says to Miles, like, or I think they say to Colin, I can't remember, but they say basically to that effect, like if the cop showed up when Colin and Miles were beating the crap out of that hipster guy, not the hipster guy, the fucking transplant or whatever they call him, if the cops had shown up and seen Colin doing that, it would be a different story than with...
you're talking about Val, right? What Val...
Val's the one who says it to Colin, yeah. Because she says, the roles would... a totally different reaction from when the cops show up there. If it was Miles who was doing it, they would be like, break it up. But because it was Colin and he was there, he was in the altercation, he's the one who gets 5 years because of that.
Also, that when they tell the story of why Colin went to prison for that assault, even though he was a bouncer, and they replay the story, it is fucking nuts. But then it's also,
my god, yeah,
and it's balanced between where it's like super violent, but then super funny because you have the guy telling a story is dubbing the voices. So then he's like, yeah, this crazy ass white boy walked over and started stomping him out and was like, I hate my dad, like for no reason at all. So you're like, what's real and what's not?
Yeah.
But that's an intense scene. But then you do have to wonder. It seems like Miles exit on and they beat him for way longer than they have to, and that was their mistake. If they had just, he put hands on Colin, so Colin had the right to defend himself, but then how do you say it? What's the word? Like
excessive force?
Excessive force, yes. And, and then of course when he caught fire, they should have, instead of helping them out, they just keep wailing on him for...
Colin's still beating the shit out of him with his arm on fire.
Yeah, and it's like an uncomfortably long amount of time that he's on fire and they're still kicking. It's funny how when you go from that scene to the actual scene with the police brutality where fucking Ethan Embry, of all people, is the cop who is from Can't Hardly Wait and Devil's Candy and Empire Records.
No Vacancy.
The last person that I feel like you think would agree to do something like this in the movie, but it's a brave move, I suppose. But anyway, in the beginning of the film, Colin drops off Miles. Everything's going good. He's on track to be getting home, before 11. And he stopped at this stoplight. It's taking forever. And then all of a sudden, this young black gentleman kind of seems like he's running from something and runs by Colin's moving truck, and then a cop immediately follows, who is Embry, and we kind of see, and the shot is framed up really nicely where we see the cop gun down this kid, but in the rear, what is it called? The side view mirror
Side mirror, yeah.
of the truck, the van truck, and it's horrifying, especially when you're thinking about it from the perspective of Colin, because they tell him within the first seconds of this film, you cannot have any kind of interactions with police whatsoever, or you will be sent back. So imagine, statistically, you're just sitting at this stoplight, minding your own business, not doing anything wrong, and you witness this murder that you cannot say anything about without fear of being shipped off, because I feel like in a lot of ways for black and brown people being released on parole, they set all of these fucked up standards for you, rules, ridiculous rules to get you sent back,
Right.
So it's a scary thing, but I've that, despite the film being so comedic in nature, when the serious hits and beats hit, they really, really make them count. And that's when the interaction with police and the police and Colin affect each time I see it affects me the same way.
Right.
It's very how do you say, powerful imagery there.
Did you catch the scene? It was right after that, when Colin goes back to Miles' house the next day, and the news is on, and they're talking about the shooting, and then Miles, he gets super pissed. He gets really pissed off and starts yelling at the TV because the media, instead of using a normal photo of him, they use a mug shot for the guy who was shot. When they show his face, and and they called it a standoff. I don't know if you caught that, but I was really into that, and he, rightfully so, Miles was pissed off, and he was like, oh, what the fuck? Why do they got to use a mugshot? Really?
Because that's
can't
something.
they just use his employment, like his picture from his employee picture or something, like
The
media.
media.
Like, what the fuck?
The media.
Yeah, the media spins it.
Yeah. Well, they really do that.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, that's the thing too. I love how relatable that is. Even still now, it's like they called the shooting a standoff, and he's like, "Wow, okay." And the guy was literally running away from the police officer, and he shot him in the back.
He literally says, "Do not shoot me, please don't shoot." And then the cop fires off 3 or 4 rounds.
Yeah.
In the back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They say in that broadcast that he had an unregistered firearm, but he also was not pulling it. He was not a threat. He was just trying to get away. So what was the reason for lethal force? There was none.
I think that same scene, Miles, that's when Miles says that since he's a convicted felon, he's not going to get a protest or a parade, which is absolutely fucked up, but it's kind of true because that's the way the media spins shit on black and brown people like that.
They'll show,
they'll show the mugshot or give a background of something that he did in the past,
so that you empathize
for a reason. Yeah, for a reason to not, sympathize for him.
So you empathize with the police officer because look at they show you a professional police photo of him, even though he murdered somebody, as opposed to the victim is chalked up to, well, here's his fucked up mugshot. Not a real picture. And that's what Miles says, man, they couldn't get an actual personal photo at all for him, and what was he, 20, only 26?
Yeah.
They talk about it in the end of the film.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you guys remember it down. Obviously, you heard about it down here, but that's they did that exact same shit when Oscar Grant was killed on the BART platform. In the news, I remember coming home the next day, New Year's Day, watching it, and just them showing pictures of him, kind of not professional pictures. And it's exactly what they did, and they did it right there in Oakland, and they're still doing it now, which is absolutely fucking bullshit. But going on with I think that's why the movie is so brilliant, because it, like you said, it kind of eases you into that the shitty topics that it's the real topics that it's bringing up, but it does it in a way where it's kind of it's not easy to take in. It might be easy to digest, easier than it would be if it was just completely serious.
Yeah, the way
Right. It eases you into it.
it's the layout of the movie is so relaxed that your average moviegoer might be like, what is this actually about? You know, because at the surface level, you could see it as being really about nothing. You're just following these two guys, and it's like a day in the life of these two guys, and you're saying, but why? And it goes deeper than that, you know what I mean? And there's like layers to peel back, which is, I feel like the rewatchability here is endless. There's so many little things that are hidden. Too.
It really is, yeah.
Like a good example would be, I think, the time when Colin hits, I think, what is it, 6:25, when he wakes up to go jogging. That, I think, on those three was 6:25. I think on like a keyboard or something, it spells out oak.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Shit.
Oh, wow.
That's dope.
So there's all these, there's like these hidden nods to where they come from.
I don't know if you guys have listened to it, but the soundtrack for this, I know we'll probably get into it later, but not necessarily the soundtrack, but the albums that David and Raphael came out with.
The two EPs, right? It's like Miles.
Yeah, they're awesome. If you haven't heard them, if you're listening to this, definitely check those out.
Very fun stuff. Me and Ryan were talking about that just a couple days ago, about how they are very like thizzed out, at least on that. yeah. Very, very hyphy movement, in my opinion.
I wonder if that's them just being in their character. You know, like, especially I don't know how they are in their normal lives. I don't know how much they can relate to the characters. I know they're, if that makes sense. You know, if they're
I will say this,
kind of like a persona.
It probably is a little bit of that persona, but just like I told Wes off air, like kids in the Bay Area, like, we come out of the womb fucking dancing to Mac Dre, so that is very, very, very just them. That is like big time bass shit. And it's funny because last year my cousin was married, and so we went back there. They got married. We went back to the Bay Area, to San Jose, and I told my girlfriend, I said, look, like, there's gonna be dancing and everything, and it's gonna be cool, but I'm telling you right now, like, once that bass shit hits, like, it's gonna be insane. And she was like, no, like, there's not like a change. And sure enough, like, as soon as they put on fucking Too Short, my uncle and my aunt, which are in their like 40s and 50s, got up, and like everyone was just fucking going dumb. So yes, it is very, very, very much them.
It's in their blood.
Yes.
Also, can I just say how impressive Miles's flow is? The guy is killer.
Yeah, it is.
He's I don't know, just a poet, dude. And then of course David is equally as brilliant. I feel like to me, I was telling you, Ryan, that he has a very how do you say, like, his cadence is very much Gambino.
Mm-hmm.
Where if you put them together, they sound, I don't know if it's just they have the similar voice or whatnot, but their style is very reminiscent of each other, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
that's cool. Yeah, I see that.
Where's Gambino from? Do you know?
He's from Atlanta.
That's right, Georgia,
but
of course.
That dude loves Oakland. Like, he's always rocking the A's hat. He started off his show that because the internet show, the tour that started off in Oakland. He fucking loves it.
That makes sense.
Yes, Telegraph Avenue on because the internet.
One thing I think this movie did really great, at least for me, I felt the the stress of Colin throughout the whole. I mean, basically throughout the whole time, because you're right off the bat, you're told when he's during his hearing, he's being released from prison, and the judge says, you can't, like you said, Wes, he can't have any altercations with police officers or anything like that. And then every couple of scenes, they'll let you know, oh, it's 3 days left till probation, or till probation's over, and then 2 days, and then 1 day, and you're kind of like, oh my god. And then I feel like the intensity of everything that's happening increases. I don't know if it's because you feel more like your senses are heightened because of there's only 1 more day left till he's off of probation, or the last day he's on probation. And they have the fight at the party with the hipster party or whatever what they called it, with the quick way burgers. I thought that was hilarious. Miles had that huge problem with he's like, no, quick way does not cater. It's quick and it's around the way. It's in the name.
He's so infuriated by that.
But that's something too. Like when they ask him, like, do you want, like, what kind of meat? I think they asked him in the beginning, like, what kind of meat do you want, or something like that. It's like meat, like the Incredimeat meat or whatever they have at like Carl's Jr. and stuff now.
The Beyond Meat, yeah,
the Beyond Meat. I love how like pissed off Miles got because they asked him. He's like, meat is meat. And he's like, what are you talking about?
Because and I'm assuming maybe because he's a white kid, they gave him a vegan burger, mistaking him for being assuming that he's vegan, and that's the film indirectly touching on the gentrification of the area, which is relatable for you and me, James, down here, because places like Barrio Logan now are being swept over by all these different places, and they're like bringing in a different element of people and pushing out people who've been here for generations and changing the food and pushing all of this expensive products on us, you know what I mean? And I feel like that's the movie's touching on that but not shoving it down your throat as an agenda either, but just making it known. But that's,
you get to see how it affects the people who have grown up here for not here, but here as well, and also in Oakland, or the Bay Area, how they are they have to deal with the fact that all these things are changing that they've been used to for generations and generations, and whether it's for the good of the neighborhood or not, it's it's these things that they're kind of thrown onto them. Like you said, prices of things go up, businesses go out, stores go out of business and get replaced with something else, like a coffee shop or whatever it may be. But you can see the not the hate, but the resistance that Miles has, even both of them have, for what's going on in their neighborhood that they grew up in.
What's interesting about Miles and his conflict with his character is that he is somebody that is from there, an OG, if you will, and he is, because of his complexion, is constantly mistaken for these intruders, which is, in this film they call them like hipsters or whatever, people that don't,
transplants,
that don't belong, and he's constantly fighting this battle, being mistaken for these people. So it's very interesting that you see him trying to maintain his identity, and of course doing it in the wrong ways, and then that's what brings you into some toxic masculinity stuff, where the way his clapback is to become ultra violent, and that's why that party where they say, oh, it's going to be a bunch of squares and just a bunch of fucking programmers and whatever people there, he goes there, friend of their, what's their friend's name, Knack, I think. One of her buddies is there. Doesn't know Colin or Miles, or that they're there together, and so her friend ends up having, this black kid has an encounter with Miles, thinking that he's just some fucking hipster in the
Like
kitchen.
wannabe.
Yeah, where he's like, yo, you don't have to act ghetto to hang out here. Welcome to Oakland. And he fucking slaps him on the back. And, of course, Miles is highly offended by that, and he's already at his, last straw. And so the kid comes back. He drops off some drinks and says, oh, I left 2 in the kitchen. I'll be right back. I'm going to grab them. So then he tries to initiate something with Miles again, and by this time... by this time Miles isn't having it, and they get in a tussle. Miles...
You see right away, Colin looks at Miles, and he knows shit's about to go down.
He's like, oh...
Just by his demeanor, he's like, oh, shit, we gotta get out of here. He knows he has to run over to Miles before, it gets worse.
And so, Miles throws the kid down. Colin grabs him and was like, what the fuck? Let's get out of here, let's go. We can't have anything pop off. And so while they're outside, the kid pretty much rushes Miles in the driveway and is like, hey, fuck you, white boy, or whatever. And they start fighting. And then he starts kind of beating up Miles for a little bit. And Miles is calling for Colin to help him. Colin kind of stands on the sidelines because he can't be... he's trying to reset his life and not resort to violence and try to live like he's leveling up as a person in a lot of ways, and he doesn't help Miles, which something Miles ends up being very offended by later. But anyway, Miles gets the upper hand on this guy and beats the living shit out of him, smashes his head into a car, which is
that was insane.
The choreography in this is very good. It looks very real. And then one of the guy, I think, whose house...
Yeah, he's like the CEO or whatever,
Yeah.
the VP or something.
The guy who's in charge of the party is like, what the fuck is the matter with you, man? You got to get the fuck out of here. And then again, Miles is like, get the fuck out of where? So he's like, no, y'all got to get the fuck out of here. And he pulls out the gun that he buys at the beginning of the film and pops off a few shots in the air to scare everyone away. And then Colin and Miles take off down the road and have ultimately what the movie is building towards is this confrontation between Colin and Miles, where Colin is like, yo, I'm trying to reset my life and do good, and you are constantly pretty much getting in the way of my progress by acting a fool and being crazy. And Colin is basically like you're the one that the cops are out here looking for. And you can tell that's deeply impacts Miles in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
It's almost like a realization. He's just got slapped with this, huge reality check right there. And Colin leaves, and that's pretty much the end of the scene. But it's a great, again, very, very powerful scene about these two clashing and finally Miles kind of having that realization that he will always have this certain amount of privilege no matter his style,
And then how intense was that scene right after that when he's walking home and the cop, the patrolman, pulls up on him and flashes. It's so unnecessary. It actually, I was watching, we were watching it, me and Alyssa were watching it together yesterday, and you see, she was super pissed off at that scene. She's like, why the fuck does he have to turn the lights on him? He's not doing anything. He's just walking down the street.
Well,
that
happens to me all the time. Just walking through the
Yeah.
hood. If the cops think that you fit some bullshit ass description, they're looking
Right.
for whoever, So again, that they did that because that's reality. Because it happens to
definitely.
me all the time.
Oh yeah, I think up there it happened to me a lot more. But even walking into stores, Walgreens or at liquor stores, anything like that, you could tell that I had to take my hood off or flip my hat forward. So that scene, yeah, I think anyone who's ever had a problem, something like that happen to them, you don't have to be, you don't have to be black, you don't have to be brown for that shit to happen to you, because that's how cops really are. That scene was insanely intense. Like, you could hear in the theaters, you can hear like a fucking pin drop. That's how quiet it was.
Yeah.
Especially because I feel like this film, they build, like, going back to what James was saying, there's this atmosphere building where you're wondering if Colin is just on track to be sent back to prison. So you're on the edge of your seat waiting, like, is he going to make it out okay and be free, or is some bad shit going to happen and he's going to end up, back on his way to the pen. And in that scene, so he goes through all this stuff with his best friend. They end up going to that party because while Colin and Miles are at Miles's house, Sean ends up with getting the gun somehow, the handgun. Scary scene.
Oh God, yeah. When he pulls the gun on it and he points the gun at his face.
Yeah. I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure it was loaded. The kid's Sean's finger is on the trigger. One wrong move, and it could be been devastating. And then so that's what propels them to go to that party in the first place. Is that Ashley kicks them both out. Again, Miles expects. Ashley is immediately like, "Colin, is this your gun?" And Miles doesn't speak up. He just looks at him to like, "Yo, take the fall for me, because I can't have my family thinking less of me." And Colin goes, "No, it's not." But he doesn't say, "No, it's Miles." He just says, "No, it's not mine." And so, of course, Ashley understands that means that Miles bought the gun. She kicks them both out, and that's why they end up at the party. But fast forward to after the party confrontation and Colin's walking down the street, he's scared with the cop following him, wondering what he's doing out or where he's going, maybe because he has the gun on him still in his jacket.
Yeah,
because he took it away from Miles, who was acting a fool, a few minutes before. And then it's interpreted in the film that maybe the police squad car gets like some other call or something, so he stops like his however you say, like, wondering what Colin was about, and kind of speeds off and goes somewhere else. And so ultimately Colin is okay there. And then that's when the next day they end up getting they still go to work, and the two end up going to the cop's house who killed that kid in front of Colin. But they basically they do the job, and they don't realize where they are until Miles is outside, and Colin says, "Hey, I left my jacket inside. I'm gonna grab the last box and I'll be right out." And he happens to flip this photo over to see what it is, and it ends up being that same kind of uniform cop photo that we saw in the news broadcast earlier. Colin starts doing some kind of investigating. He still has the gun on him. Goes down to what looks like a basement or office, some kind of office space, and finds Ethan Embry or the cop.
Actually, I have a question. Was it the family? Was it his wife and son who were just moving out, or were they leaving him because of the incident?
That's what I picked up on. Is that's why he was crying.
Yeah, that's what I think was happening.
Because
Okay.
they were like, "Fuck you, you're a weirdo for this," and it wasn't it was not justified. "I can't be with you anymore."
Is that exactly what they said, Wes?
No.
No.
But that's what I would have told him.
I know. I love that. It's funny. Fuck you, weirdo.
Because he's like bawling his eyes out, like he's lost every
Yeah.
like that mistake, in those few seconds, 30 seconds, whatever, ruined his life, you know,
Right.
as it should.
Yeah.
Just
Oh,
like,
yeah.
just like that fucking chick who supposedly pulled her pistol instead of her taser.
Yep.
You're not fit to be doing that job then, all right? If you can't handle that kind of stress, then don't do it. But that's when Colin realizes that he is, you know, the police officer from earlier in the film is still there, and they have this huge confrontation. Where Colin decides that he's going to scare the shit out of this cop the way that he continuously feels every day. And he does just that, but in a very like kind of super heightened way. Throughout the film, both Miles and Colin, they have this way of integrating their rhymes within the dialogue very, very naturally, where you don't even realize what they're doing until they're in like midway into it. And this conclusion is so good at that because it's like the most unbearably tense scenario happening, and then he's like spitting poetry at the same time, but it just works, you know. It just
Oh, it was so cool. It was beautiful.
And then you have, you know, the cop standing there fucking afraid because he thinks that he's going to be killed. A very important detail is when Colin turns around or goes down into that little basement area where the cop is at, the cop turns around and notices that it's him from that witnessed the crime, and he immediately goes for his handgun. And had Colin not had the gun, what would have happened there? You know, again, the same thing again?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
And then he would, I didn't know he was a moving guy. Or some bullshit, right?
Yeah.
Right, because, he could actually, I mean, he could have said that because he wasn't wearing his...
He just had a wife beater, I think, right?
Yeah, he just had his wife beater on. He didn't have his employee jacket or whatever it was.
But anyway, he goes off on him, and then he's like, you know, the difference between me and you is I'm not a killer. And then he walks back to Miles and throws him his gun. And Miles is like, or no, the cop tells Miles, I didn't mean to. And then Miles just looks at him and he's like, are you sure? And the cop doesn't respond.
That was deep.
He's just
That was deep.
crying.
I have really loved the scene after that when they're, Colin is crying in the car, kind of. You always see the tears running down his face, and then they're on their way back to another pickup or something. And then Miles says, "You want to get anything else off your chest? Because I don't think we can pull a gun out on another customer. I think that's like a once a day type of thing."
My question for both of you guys with that is, do you think because the cop felt shitty about himself and what he had done, do you think he didn't say anything, that he kept it to himself, or did he rat?
I would assume that just because of how scared he was after and throughout that whole scene, I would assume that he would keep his mouth shut. But yeah, I've never thought about that angle before.
I was thinking the same thing. Like, what would he have done after that? Like, called the police?
Because the movie ends on a good note, and they continue their work day.
Yeah,
you know, and Miles is just like, everything's ass backwards, and you're fucking pulling a gun on a cop, and I'm over here fucking drinking green juice. You know, like, what the fuck is going on today? And then,
he's like, son of a bitch, that's actually good.
It's not bad. At the beginning, to put that into context, there's like, and they use this throughout the film. When they go to the liquor store, there's like this new, like what do you call it? Like a soda cooler, and it's full of this like green juice that's supposed to be healthy, probably veggie, ground up veggies, whatever. And it's $10. And when they're like, how much is it? He goes, $10. It's supposed to be healthy. And Miles is like, what the fuck is it? What's in it? The blood of Christ?
Yeah.
And Colin, something that we left out of this podcast so far, Colin, he's like, let me get a bottle. And he pays the $10. And it's because his ex-girlfriend, who is like the supervisor or manager for the commander.
Yeah.
Their moving company, Val, is, I believe, vegan. So it's like he's constantly trying to get on that track to rekindling their relationship. He's very tense through this movie with them, and then halfway through you realize that they most likely broke up because of she witnessed the assault that happened at the bar when Miles and Colin beat that guy up outside because of the scorpion cup.
Yeah.
He's
Punch
like,
bowl.
he's all, give me the goblet shit, and he's like, first of all, it's a scorpion cup, all right. So many great one-liners.
How did you guys feel about the girlfriend?
Val?
Yeah.
Honestly, if I was Colin, I would be offended. I would throat punch Miles for calling her a bitch so much. Whether I'm with her or not, it's like you're kind of out of pocket. What if I'm talking about Ashley like that? What is he going to do? You know what I'm saying?
I think that, definitely. I think that kind of plays into the type of person Miles is. And he just doesn't see it like that. But I think she, like that scene where she's braiding his hair and they're done and they're standing there, and she kind of tells them, you just got to kind of get rid of the hair and you got rid of the grills already. And it seems like she's, trying to be, she's trying to make it seem like it's in good intentions, but in reality, kind of problematic that telling him that he needs to change the way he looks in order for him to change.
To be accepted, socially accepted.
Yeah.
It's molding. It's toxic in the way when your significant other agrees to be with you in hopes that they can mold you how they want you to be, and that's never ever going to work. So that's a good point. But so I guess in a way, Miles is although he's very vulgar about it, he is he's coming from a good place because he is trying to protect Colin,
And then they talk about how she didn't go and visit him in prison, and she only called him once, and Miles did all this stuff for him, like put money on his books and was there every other weekend visiting him. But yeah, I'm with you. I would have kind of. You don't use that word. That word. I also like the. I don't know if you guys caught it, but the three jobs they go on are kind of like the three big topics that the movie's trying to get across.
Yes.
The being plussed out of or sent out of a neighborhood. I don't think it's really said what the art gallery. Mm-hmm. It seems like that's what's happening to him, and they're moving his artwork and everything, and then them cleaning up the house and Colin going through that
the
photo book and seeing those pictures of the wall that used to be someone's house, and they're just kind of throwing everything away, and the realtor, whoever owns it, is just kind of like, just throw everything away, but he's looking through all this stuff, and it was once someone's house that they had all these memories in. And then that third move is the big confrontation with the cop.
Yeah, they got a boat though.
And they sold it.
Yeah, what was it for $600?
300?
I think it was 300. Yeah.
Was it 300? Okay.
Or when Miles goes to Colin, they go to Colin's mom's house because he's trying to move in there temporarily, and Miles takes all these old flat irons, and they ends up going down the block to like a hair salon. And it's the chick from Martin, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great cameo. But he gets up on the table and he has just this, and I just think it's Raphael.
It's so smooth.
Yeah, where he just he spits this like mad venom where you can't help but be like, how do you say, like entranced by him somehow. I don't know how he does it, but it's impressive. But anyway, he pitches the ladies these old ass fucking flat irons, and they buy them. And I think he makes like $600 off that shit. But he's a good guy because he gives Colin $300. But the catch is Colin had to get a perm.
Oh yeah, they test out the flat irons. He's over there looking like Cat Williams.
And Ashley was like, "What happened to you, Colin? Your hair look fucked up." I said, talking a little bit more about the show, I was very skeptical on how if they're going to be able to capture the same magic, but they do. They do so well.
The scenes where they add in like the dancing and the choreography in the background, I think they do it better in the show. Obviously, because you have more time to do it and more episodes to do it in. But yeah, the show is just as great as the movie.
Because like you said, you have more time, you're being able, even though they're only 35, 40-minute episodes, you're having more time to spend with your essential characters and tell more story. And a lot of the dance sequences, if you notice, it's the same people popping up in these same, like in these different scenarios. So it's really, it's incredible to watch. And what's her, Jasmine Jones, who plays Ashley. What an incredible main character, dude. She's so fucking good. She was so good in the movie, but her time was very sparse.
Yeah.
You know, and then having it literally be pretty much just about her with Miles in the background, obviously, as her boyfriend / fiance. But yeah.
And I love how they did that, how they just kind of, he's there, and he comes in a couple episodes, but she's the focus. And Colin's mentioned, but he's not even in the show at all. But yeah, check it out if you haven't. Helen Hunt is fucking awesome in it.
She is.
Such a random thing for her to be in, but it says a lot about what she thought about the show and them.
So the show takes place after the movie, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
The continuation, basically, of Miles's family.
Pretty much, it's to me. It finally is. It's giving you that not necessarily closure, but that expansion on Colin or Miles finally getting like his comeuppance, where this luck of the draw, where whether it be his complexion, whatever you want to have, like his luck runs out, and he ends up on the same in the same scenario as Colin, and he's finally feeling this, and unfortunately. He's in it. He ends up getting a sentence to 5 years, which is
kind of bullshit. And that's the great thing about this show and what it does is that when stuff like that happens and people go down for shitty convictions like that and they get 5, 6, 7 years for fucking some weed, you're obviously you're destroying that person's life, but you're also destroying, everyone else's in his family's, everyone else who loves him, and it kind of messes with Ashley and how she's supposed to raise this young boy,
or just tell him.
Yeah, or just tell him. She has a terrible time telling him as well.
So it lives up to the movie.
Yes.
So you haven't seen it yet?
No, I knew the show. I was super stoked when I found out the show was coming out, like it was a real thing. I just never got around to watching it.
Check it out immediately. As soon as you get off of this podcast with us, go watch it. What are you doing with your life, James?
I gotta boost up those streams so I can get greenlit for second season.
I believe they are, because they just announced back in, I think, maybe February, between February and April, that a bunch of new people are jumping aboard. So if it hadn't been greenlit officially, they wouldn't be announcing that, correct?
Yeah.
So season 2 is coming. So catch up, James, and everyone else out there. It's a great, great show. You won't be disappointed.
What are you guys? What's like your takeaway of the movie? What's your favorite thing about the movie?
James, you want to go first?
Just how relatable the movie is. I myself am not black, but because of I guess maybe the way I look, the way my hair is, sometimes my hair is extremely curly, and if you know me, then you know my hair. I have been constantly throughout my life. Yeah, I've been constantly thought as everyone has asked me, "Oh, you're mixed. Like, what are you mixed with? Like, you're black and what?" And I'd be like, "I'm not black at all. I'm white and Mexican." But because I don't know. I can relate to how Miles is treated, and to a certain point. I've been, it's classic. I mean, with anybody who looks different other than what people are comfortable with. So, and I think you can relate. Most people can relate to that as well. Just looking different than what the status quo is, or what society deems as normal, to be seen as like a threat or something. Especially when I go to stores by myself. If I don't have my kids with me, there are people constantly like checking, quote unquote, the shelves around me, like readjusting things to make sure that I'm not taking anything.
Really?
Like, damn, I'm at Bath and Body Works. So what do you think? Like, I'm trying to get some damn candles, and I got a guy over here. Like, it just happened yesterday. A guy kept literally going around the same like island thing that I was on. He would fix something and then go around the other side, fix it, and then go around. And it was like he went around the same thing that I was looking at, probably like 5 times within like 10 minutes. But then it's happened a number of times. I was with when I would go to the mall, and I went into an elevator. It's Plaza Bonita, I think, and this like old white lady. I know it sounds horrible to say that, but she like grabbed her purse and like scooched into the corner. Classic type of thing that you would see in a movie or a skit or something. That she would like scoot into the corner of the elevator and like clutch her purse tighter to her. So it's happened. Those types of things happen to me all the time. And if I don't have my kids with me, of course I look scary because I'm 6'5" and giant. It happened to me when I went to Southwestern. This guy that would talk to me and Alyssa, I didn't go to class one day, and Alyssa had told me about this conversation they had, and he was like, why is your boyfriend always so angry? And she's like, what are you talking about? He's like, every time I come into every time I like say hi to him, he's always like mean mugging me. And I'm like, oh shit, I didn't even realize. I think sometimes I'm just thinking or like spacing out. And when I do that, I just like, I look angry, or I don't know. But I've gotten pulled over a couple of times. One time in particular when I was leaving Alyssa's house at the time, and they were for no reason. They just pulled me over and they're like, where are you coming from? Or have you been doing any drinking? You on any drugs or anything like that? And I was like, no, I'm going home. And they're like, where do you live? And I was like, oh, I live down the freeway, in El Cajon. And they're like, oh, okay. Where are you coming from? And then like, why is your address not match where you say you live? And I was like, oh, well, I used to live at my grandma's and now I live at my own place. They're like, all right, get the hell out of here. And I'm like, okay.
Was that on like a regular like street, or was it on the freeway or highway?
It was. I was pulling onto the freeway, so I was on in a turning lane to go onto the freeway. And as soon as the light turned green for me, so I went on to go to the freeway. I was on the on-ramp, and a cop who was coming off of the freeway saw me turning, and then turned his lights on as I got onto the freeway. And I was like, I was shaking and shit. So it's funny though, because you get pulled over, you didn't do anything wrong, but you're still like, your heart starts beating quick and
contemplating. Yeah.
Yeah. They're like, oh fuck, what did I do wrong? And then, yeah. That was at the time when I had I don't know if you remember, Wes, when we worked at Target, I had like a huge afro.
That's your handle? Afro?
Yeah. Yeah. So, but it was like out of control, and it was before I cut it the first time. But yeah, I want to assume, I hate to assume that, but I think that's part of the reason why he pulled me over.
Now, I asked you about the freeway or street thing because I was in my early 20s, like 21, 22. I was coming home from work one night at like 1 a.m, and I don't speed at all. Like I barely go over the speed limit. I'm always like super, super paranoid about that. On the freeway doing like 65, cop pulls me over, and he asked me, do you know what you did? And I said, I didn't do anything, sir. And he was like, I could have sworn I saw smoke coming out of your car and I heard loud music. And I was like, we're on the freeway, sir. Like, how do you are you saying that you heard my music? I wasn't playing my music loud. So he was like, oh, so you're calling me a liar? I said, oh, sir, I'm not doing that, but we're on the freeway. I don't know. I'm not smoking. I don't smoke at all. Like, I'm not a smoker. I don't know what you're talking about. So he gave me my license. I gave him my license and my registration. 2 minutes later, he came back and said I can go on my way. So I don't know if I ran into the wrong dude at the wrong time, or he was just kind of picking on me or something. But I definitely, and that specific car I had like a 1998 Toyota Camry, and I got pulled over, I swear, like 6 or 7 times within like the year I had it. And before then, I had only maybe been pulled over like once, and since then I haven't been pulled over hours. Since then I haven't been pulled over at all. But it was just that one car. I don't know if it was, I don't know, but yeah, it was wild for him to think that, especially where we were at.
What about you, Wes? What did you like about this movie? I think that was the question.
Or what was the most what's the takeaway? Mm-hmm. It's hugely relatable. I can see myself in both Miles and Colin, because Colin is very much reserved, a shy dude. As I've read that David is very much like that in real life, which I am, very much that. But then as well as, Miles, I'm a mixed dude too. Obviously, I don't look it. So in that way, I can relate to Miles, because it's like the people who know me love me and understand that I'm an ally, that I'm down. But then you're constantly hitting the reset button when new people come into the circle, or you interact with strangers, or even at work. People assume,
who's this white boy?
Yeah, they assume the worst because of the shitty world that we live in, unfortunately. and I can respect that, and I understand the hesitancy. But yeah, that's what my takeaway is that you just have to elevate yourself and be the best person that you can be, regardless of your circumstances, your situation, and it's never too late to better yourself,
For
sure.
And this is for both of you individually, obviously. Could you see yourself being best friends with Miles?
It's funny you say this, because my best friend is kind of identical to Miles. It's insane. And rewatching the movie a couple times this week, he's kind of like, he can sweet talk his way into anything or out of anything, just like Miles. He's from certain areas of San Jose Bay Area, so he has that for him. But his temper has gotten way, 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 way easier to deal with as he's gotten older, and he's changed a lot. But when I first met him, he's married to my cousin. But when I first met him, he, just to give you like a sample of the person he is still and was the very first time I met him, my cousin was like, oh yeah, go to the house. Romero's there, and he's with my brother, and they're just watching TV. I roll up into my aunt's house. He is rolling like the fattest joint next to my cousin, who's like 10 years old, and he like looks at me, and the very first thing he tells me is, "Yo, dude, do you smoke?" And I'm like, "Aren't you supposed to be trying to like wow me, and like you're dating my fucking cousin?" But no, he's completely he's changed a lot, and but yeah, no, I am best friends with
I feel like everyone, for the most part, usually has some type of friend in their group who's like that, or similar to that. So, but yeah, I think I could be friends with Miles, man. I think, especially if it's someone you've grown up with, in their case in the movie, they've known each other since, I think they said like kindergarten or something. I'm not sure, but
since when they get into the fight, I think Miles says, Oh, you've been calling me that since like we were 12 years old, right?
Right? Yeah, yeah.
Which would mean what, like 6th or 7th grade, maybe?
Yeah.
I think so. I could see why it's so hard for Colin to not give up that friendship just because he's known him for so long and that's all he's known, like the type of person that he is. But I mean, I could see if I was in that situation, being the same way.
It seems like in the story that their, how do you say, biracial friendship has never been an issue or something that they really thought about or considered until that conflict that we see in the end of the movie. And I think that's kind of the point, is that it's finally like all of these things are forcing them to confront these unspoken, problems.
You got those swan facts on deck.
David Diggs and Jasmine Jones, aka Ashley, both come from a shared background of Broadway and have actually worked together on the smash hit Hamilton, which is insane.
That's crazy.
And I don't know if you guys will know this or not, but Raphael Cassell actually suffered a concussion while performing one of his own stunts on set.
Oh, wow, I didn't know that.
Yes. So I believe it is when he gets in that fight at the party. I think he gets pushed or he falls back, and when he got pushed back, because he did all of his own stunts in the film. He didn't no stunt doubles. He
Tom
actually,
Cruise.
He was very insistent on that, as he wanted to do everything himself, and he actually kind of paid the price because he got injured. So the actor pushes him back. He falls back, and the mat that was supposed to catch him, I guess, didn't work, and he like smacked his head.
Damn.
And he said that he doesn't remember anything except for his grill flying out of his mouth, and he knew he was in trouble. And so he actually got, I don't know if you would actually say amnesia, or maybe like a lesser case of it, but while he was in the ambulance, he would come to, and he had actually forgotten that they were even making a movie.
Holy shit.
Oh shit. Damn.
Fuck.
Where he was like, yo, where are we doing? And he's like, we're making it, you got injured on the set of our movie. And he's like, yo, we're making a movie? What's it called? And then he's like, I don't know, it's called Blind Spotting. He's like, well, we're making Blind Spotting? We actually did that? That's crazy. And then he would like pass out and come to, and then ask the same questions over and over again. Or when they got to the hospital, I guess they cut off all his clothes.
Oh, shit.
Or something. I don't know why, but they cut all off. So he was like, if I have a head injury, why they take my pants? I want my pants back. And so then he would pass out. And then he would wake up and be like, yo, where the fuck are my pants at, man? So yeah, like I said, I think that's the great swan fact for this week.
That's awesome.
That's wild.
So James,
Yo.
what are we going to be reviewing next week?
Oh man, we're gonna do Prey.
Oh,
Streaming right now. Streaming right now on Hulu, so you can check it out. Ryan can finally watch it if you want to.
Definitely.
Oh man.
Yeah, I love that movie. I mean, it's funny to say that I love that movie and it's brand new, but yeah, it's definitely it's an awesome movie. I think it's a step in the right direction for that franchise. But we can get on. We can talk more about that when we actually review the movie. But yeah, Prey. So heads up to anybody who wants to listen to the next episode.
Okay, Prey next week.
Yes.
I have a question for you though.
What's up?
Where can our lovely listeners find us?
Oh, all right. So if you're just stumbling upon this podcast and you enjoyed it, we are Drop the Mic. We are a San Diego-based podcast. We review tons of movies, release new episodes every Friday. We are available on every single platform that plays podcasts, whether it's iHeartRadio, I believe, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, a handful of other ones that are available. Like I said, if you can listen to podcasts on it, we're probably on there. Just search Drop the Mic. And if you enjoyed the episode, please give us a 5 stars, a thumbs up, or a positive review if you have the time. We'd really appreciate it. And we also have an Instagram that you can get in contact with us. It's at @dropthemic_podcast. Me and Wes are both attached to that. You can comment on our weekly reviews that we're doing, and if you enjoyed the film, you can let us know. If you hated it, if you liked the episode, we're here to talk to you about it. And if you don't want to be so public and comment on a post, you can also DM us, and we can talk there. You can also request the film for us to review if we haven't done that already. And if you want to be a guest, also you can do that as well. And we can hopefully get that done as also. And we do have a Twitter, and I'm gonna remember this Twitter handle eventually. But what is the Twitter handle, Wes? I know you know that.
At Drop the Mic Pod.
At Drop the Mic Pod on Twitter. So follow us there as well. Share us, like us. Like I said, if you have any family members, coworkers, or friends you think that would enjoy our podcast, please share with them. Tell them about us. And yeah, that's about it.
Well said as usual, man.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan, for coming for the very first time in person.
It has been an experience looking into your eyes while I'm talking about the movies.
Great pick, Ryan, too. Thank you for picking this. I know I would have picked it eventually because I had this on my list for a while.
Yeah, as soon as Wes started to bring me on, I created this list, and this was like on my top of my list. And but yeah, no, like I always tell Wes, always a fucking awesome coming on here, and especially about a topic like this and a movie like this that means so much to me, and obviously the Bay Area means so much to me. So yeah, very, very awesome for you guys to allow me to do this.
Of course, man. So with that, I guess this is Ryan Jiminez, James Barney, and I, the Swan, signing off, saying good fight and good night.
Sailboat! Get your artisan sailboat! Platinum seaworthy sailboat. Nauticals included.
You ain't never gonna sell this boat, bruh.
Hey, Colin. Who braided your hair between yesterday and today?
Val came over to Mom's house and she braided it for. All right. Air out. What is your problem with Val?
Val is a disloyal bitch. When you were in jail, did she put money on your books? Did she come visit you even one time at Rita while you were locked up? Because I'm pretty sure I went 2 times a week, 45 minutes each way, $500 on your book on day one.
She talked to me on the phone.
How gracious of her to have called you once. And what did she want to talk to you about changing up your lifestyle, changing up your ways? You're not a thug. Drug dealer? You went to jail on a fire technicality.
Did I?
Yes! How are we supposed to know that hipsters are so flammable?